The rise of the dragon, how China became a world power. One of the most significant developments in the global system over recent decades has been the rise of China as a major power. How did this transformation happen? China's ascent can be attributed to several factors, particularly its strategic integration into global capitalism beginning in the 1980s. Unlike the Soviet bloc, China leveraged its colonial history to its advantage in a surprising twist of historical irony. Hong Kong, under British control until 1997, Macau, a Portuguese colony until 1999, and Taiwan, a U.S. protectorate, played pivotal roles in connecting China to the global economy even before its full integration. During Mao's era, Hong Kong provided about one-third of China's foreign currency reserves, enabling the country to import essential technologies. Later, under Deng Xiaoping's leadership, Hong Kong became even more critical to China's modernization. It served as a gateway for foreign currency, advanced technology, and skilled labor, such as management professionals. Macau, with its lax law enforcement, initially served as a hub for smuggling goods into mainland China, before evolving into a platform for capital flow through its burgeoning casino industry. Taiwan contributed not only through capital investments but also through significant technology transfers, especially in the semiconductor sector. Investors from Hong Kong and Taiwan were instrumental in spurring rapid growth in provinces like Jiangsu, Fujian, and Guangdong. Another factor in China's rise is what Russian revolutionary Leon Trotsky termed the privilege of historical backwardness. Mao's Communist Party capitalized on China's pre-capitalist structures, inheriting a strong absolutist state that was repurposed for national economic development. The regime also exploited a pre-capitalist peasantry, accustomed to authoritarian rule for millennia, to extract labor for primitive accumulation between 1949 and the 1970s. This labor force was later mobilized from rural areas into urban centers to work in export processing zones. Over 300 million rural migrants were subjected to grueling conditions in sweatshops, enabling the rapid growth of both state and private capitalism. China's relative backwardness also allowed it to bypass incremental stages of development by adopting advanced technologies. A prime example is its rapid deployment of fiber optic cables for telecommunications, skipping older infrastructure stages followed by more developed countries. The Chinese leadership's drive to modernize was fueled by both defensive and offensive motivations. Defensively, they sought to prevent the kind of colonization China endured a century ago. Offensively, the Communist Party aimed to restore China's historical status as a great power, a modern iteration of its heavenly dynasty. As a result, China achieved in a few decades the capitalist modernization that took other nations a century or more. Today, China is the world's second largest economy, but its development is marked by contradictions. Multinational corporations have played a significant role in China's growth, often through direct investments or subcontracting to Taiwanese and Chinese firms. Simultaneously, China has cultivated its own national champions in both the state and private sectors. What are the strengths and weaknesses of this model? In the book, China's Rise, the author, Long Yu argued that China's capitalist development has two dimensions. The first is dependent accumulation. Over the past 30 years, advanced foreign capital has invested heavily in China, initially in labor-intensive industries and more recently in capital-intensive sectors. While this has spurred development, it has kept China at the lower end of the global value chain, even in high-tech industries. Most profits are siphoned off by advanced capitalist powers like the US, Europe, and Japan. A clear example is Apple's mobile phones. China assembles the parts, but the components are largely designed and manufactured elsewhere. The second dimension is autonomous accumulation. From the outset, the Chinese state has actively guided the economy, funding research and development and maintaining indirect control over the private sector, which now accounts for over 50% of GDP. The state continues to dominate key sectors through state-owned enterprises, SOEs, and employs strategies like reverse engineering to replicate Western technologies. China also benefits from its vast size, both in territory and population. Since the 1990s, the country has developed a regional division of labor. Guangdong specializes in labor-intensive export processing, the Zhejiang Delta focuses on more capital-intensive exports, and the Beijing region has become a hub for high-tech, communication, and aviation industries. This regional diversification reflects a deliberate state strategy to position China as an economic powerhouse. However, China faces significant challenges. Despite its enormous GDP, it remains a middle-income country when measured by GDP per capita. Its reliance on foreign expertise underscores its developmental limitations. For instance, Huawei's success as a global brand was partly due to the work of 400 Japanese scientists it hired. This reliance on foreign human resources highlights ongoing gaps in China's domestic research and development capabilities. Another vulnerability was exposed when the Trump administration accused China's ZTE telecom company of violating trade sanctions on Iran and North Korea. A U.S. trade ban on ZTE threatened the company's survival by cutting off access to American-designed software and high-tech components. Although Xi Jinping and Donald Trump negotiated a resolution, the crisis underscored China's dependence on foreign technology and its persistent challenges with dependent development. In conclusion, China's rise is a remarkable story of strategic integration, state-led planning, and exploitation of historical circumstances. Yet, its trajectory remains fraught with contradictions and vulnerabilities that could shape its future as a global power. Thanks for watching. To see more videos like this, kindly like, share, follow,